everyone, and welcome to the KT Podcast, where we talk about the ins and outs of Star Wars. I'm your co-host, KS, along with my good buddy, Tristan. And today, Tristan, what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about the Mandalorian and the new season of the Clone Wars upcoming.
Yes, if you didn't catch the last episode, go ahead, check that out. We did our review mostly of The Rise of Skywalker. We tried to keep it on topic, but the last, with ADD, you get sidetracked a little bit of everything that happens. So it's like 70-30, but still go check it out if you haven't already. And yeah, this one we'll try to keep it towards the Disney Plus shows like The Mandalorian and Clone Wars. So for those of you who haven't seen The Mandalorian, that we are going to be diving deep into this. So spoiler warning, I know it's been out a month, but might as well just safe than sorry. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
So, first off, this is the spoiler warning. So, Mandalorian, overall thought of it?
I love it.
Oh yeah, like it took me about a day to really think down and think. Okay, well, I know I love it for sure, but what is wrong with it? I can't think of anything wrong with it. I thought it was an overall good show.
It is entirely different from what I expected going in. I thought it was going to be like the lone, silent, super cool, never takes his helmet off Master Chief style character. But the character named Din Djarin in the 8th episode, we find that out, despite Pedro Pascal accidentally spoiling that in an interview.
And see, that's the thing. I heard that he had spoiled it. However, I didn't read into it, so I actually was surprised at the name. When I was it took me a second going, wait, did they just give the Mandalorian his name? Because when I heard that it was leaked, I actually took it as fake, and I didn't even bother to read into it because I was like, well, it's fake, so what's the point in reading it?
It was actually him, though, in a recording doing it. It was really funny. Like, there's video. Everybody thought it was spelled completely differently, though, so it was cool to have a confirmation of how it's spelled. But a lot of people who, saw that interview, actually, they were like, oh, I guess he's got a name now. We don't just have to call him Mando, but for the sake of spoilers, we're going to keep calling him Mando.
Right, so, and the fact that Cara Dune from Alderaan, so that kind of was a nice little tidbit and kind of an overall explanation of why she hates the Empire so much. Like, even when Mando said, it's like, we're fighting against the Empire, and immediately she's like, I'm in. Like, no problem.
Well, I'll go down fighting, I can't surrender to them, I think she says on the river. I love that she's from Alderaan. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact that she fought with the Rebel Alliance and everything. Now we can kind of see why she chose the way she did. And even then, she's always been wanting to fight. Because when we find that... she's not bored. She doesn't want to sit in one place. So she's fighting a Zabrak, which I think is hilarious. So we finally get to see another Zabrak on live... this is the first Zabrak on live TV.
Yeah, first Zabrak that isn't Dathomiri, if I'm remembering right.
Well, and see, that's the thing. It's even stated that even Darth Maul was not from Dathomir. He was from Irodia, where that is the home place of a species of Zabrak. The only ones from Dathomir are the ones that are tattooed, whereas the non-Dathomirian ones aren't tattooed like the Dathomirian ones.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Maul was actually from Dathomir.
Not in Clone Wars. When Savage Opress is first shown, and they say, Mace Windu and Yoda look at Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan says, Darth Maul alive, but I cut him in half, and that's when Yoda says, well, correct, you are. This is a different one. And Obi-Wan says, I thought Maul was from Irodia. Because they say, go to Dathomir.
It could be just a cover. We
That
don't know.
too. But according to the Wikipedia of Darth Maul, that he is actually not from Dathomir.
Hmm.
But I'm just gonna double check just to make sure.
Yeah, I was pretty sure there was a mountain of evidence that proved otherwise.
I mean, yeah, and I could be wrong. So, I mean, I'm checking out Wikipedia right now, the lovely
Oh, there's
thing about
like
computers.
Sugi is
So, yeah, I guess he
yeah,
is Dathomirian, so.
okay. Because there are the two different breeds. There's the Dathomiri and the just regular Zabrak. So
Yeah. So.
oh well. Back to Mandalorian though.
Yeah, see, sorry. As we get sidetracked on that.
That same cantina bar, whatever it is, that Kara was in, when we first get there, the child meets a little loth cat. I don't know if it's a loth cat or Tuca, or if there's a different.
I think it is a loth cat. That's the first thing that came to my mind. It was like, oh, cool, loth cat.
Exactly.
I mean, it could be something different.
Yeah. I remember a few people saying, oh, it's not a loth, and other people saying, no, it is, but I don't remember who was actually ultimately correct in that. But still, it's a cat. Really cool.
Yeah.
First time we outside of the nation next to Galaxy's Edge. But that count for, in-universe stuff because most of us are too poor to go there.
Right. unless you live in California or Orlando. So.
Pilgrimage someday, but it'll be a long time.
Yeah, so overall, I thought Mandalorian was fantastic. All the small little details that you kind of see. Like, I rewatched the first 3 episodes, and really, my number 3, The Sin, is still my favorite episode of the series. Because we dive more into the...
Such a good Obi-Wan series.
The what, sorry?
Deborah Chow is going to do such a good job with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Yes. Yeah, and she did episode 6, which is I have to say, my third favorite. The prisoner one where you had Bill Burr in it, which
all the new stuff in that was so cool. I love that.
Yeah, and I loved like when Dave Filoni came on screen and he's and I just was like, yes, like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And
I was so hard at that.
And the fact is that going on the credits, it actually says his call sign was Wolfpack, which makes total sense because Commander Wolf is his favorite. He's always been a Wolf fan.
So funny.
So I thought that was absolutely done wonderfully.
I was mildly disappointed they weren't using T-70s, but I guess it makes sense for them to be using T-65s for their X. So that's a little thing that I just personally thought would have enjoyed more as if they were T-70s, but oh well. Though I do love those security droids that they have. Those things were so cool.
Yeah. Oh
man, they're amazing.
The one thing I guess this could be a negative. The fact of yes, episode 6 was still my second favorite, but I wasn't a big fan of the Twi'lek female, like just her constant like hissing and stuff.
It was like an alien Harley Quinn, which some people see as a positive, others see as a negative. I'm not a huge DC fan, so I don't have an opinion about it, but yeah. I thought she was, pretty funny, but also very, a character we're supposed to not like. So I
thought that was kind of cool. That these characters were set as you are not supposed to like them. I love the comment of Bill Burr, which, of course, you have to give him credit for being a comedian, and now he's in a Star Wars film, and he obviously pulls out one of the best lines in the whole show, where it's like, oh, he was an Imperial sniper, and it's like, oh, well, that's not impressive. It's like, I wasn't a stormtrooper. like just literally, I burst out laughing because it's like, okay, that totally makes sense. And then, of course, episode 8 shows on how bad the stormtroopers can actually shoot.
Yeah, those 2 scouts, and one of them rattles his pistol. Like, wait, why isn't it working?
So, and it's overall it was good. It had a good flow. I loved the arc that we had for the first three. Finding the bounty and everything, introducing IG-11, which of course, when IG-11 was killed off, I thought for a second like, really, like they promoted him so well, and now all of a sudden he's gone,
Yeah,
and
same.
then like Cara Dune.
Cara Dune, yeah, they were in one episode or like two episodes each, and then they're just gone until like episode 7 and 8.
Yeah,
Even then, I think there are characters that had even less time than that deserved way more. Like I think her name was Fennec Shand, Ming Na Wen's character
yeah.
in episode. I thought episode 5 was good and entertaining still, but I think that one's probably the weakest of the season because there were too many times where it was just coincidental fan service, but overall it was a good episode.
Yeah,
I
like
just think it's even better if like say when the Death Troopers are all marching out and um, Moff Gideon's tie is landing, if like Fennec Shand would have like walked out with the Death Troopers, because that would have confirmed she's working with them. Like it was hinted, I guess, because she's like, "Oh, my contacts in Cespa," but I think that would have sealed the deal, made it really cool. Yeah, she's not dead; she's still here.
yeah, then it would have kind of confirmed that the character who approached her at the end of episode 5 would have been Moff Gideon, which some
Yeah,
people are speculating that it was the Mando, just the way everything sounded, and some people said it was Boba.
yeah. I think someone said that Boba's the only character we've heard with spurs or something like that. But if it's not confirmed to be Boba, don't bank on it because I think the Aftermath trilogy, basically, it's sort of confirmed. Yeah, Boba's alive, but he left his armor behind. So if we see him, he'll have to either be a different suit that he painted similar, or it'll literally be Tamara Morrison's face. Those are the only ways we'll end up seeing Boba in this show and actually be able to see that's him. Otherwise, they'll have to tell us instead of showing it.
Well, and the fact that some people still are unsure whether Boba actually survived the Starlight Pit, which in Battlefront, the first Disney Battlefront game, they confirmed it because they had Boba Fett flying over the Starlight Pit, and he goes, "Oh, not again." So to me, that's confirming that he survived it.
Yeah,
Um,
I prefer that, and like there are a few things like that in the Star Wars universe that I think should never be answered. Boba's status after the Sarlacc, how Maz got Luke's saber. Um, there are a few that I think should never be answered because it's more fun to be mysterious. Like one that ties into the Mando is like the identity the of Yoda's species. Like I think they should never be named. I think they should never be given a concrete home or anything like that is named. I
yeah,
think if the series is going to end because we know that the armorer gave Din the task of bringing the child to his people, I think that it should end with him just stepping off onto this random planet, and we just see a few of them in the background like walking up, and then the child like just going there and like looking back at Din, and he'll be like, "This is your home," like go on, and then like say the child either chooses to go with
mm-hmm.
his or stay with Din. I don't think they should ever name the species or give them a home world or anything like that. I think there are some things in Star Wars that should never be answered.
Mm-hmm. And is that
Boba,
like is that like, would that be a series finale you're thinking of, or season two's finale?
like the finale of the series, yeah,
Okay,
like
series
I,
finale.
pretty much.
Okay.
Or it could be like a another season after that sort of a thing. Like yeah, his main quest is complete, but the child chose to stay with him, so we'll have one more season. Just be. Yep. I don't know. I'm not a writer, so I don't like to project anything, but I think that would be a really cool way to end the series. So
And I think so too. And the fact that Jon Favreau is a wonderful writer and a wonderful director, and he starts off things very very good. I mean, he wrote and directed Elf, which is now a cult Christmas classic with like Buddy the Elf and Will Ferrell.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I I didn't know he had anything to do with that movie.
Yeah, he directed it.
Wow,
I kind of was thrown off too when I saw that. Um,
man.
and then of course he started Iron Man, which started the whole MCU. So and he's still heavily involved with the MCU. So I can see why you got Taika Waititi. I think
Type E, yeah.
yeah, I can never pronounce his name, but the reviews are saying that after his episode 8 episode, or when he directed episode 8, which is by far one of the funniest ones out of the whole season.
Despite being, definitely the most serious, it was still hilarious.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing, like the fact that Star Wars has now said, hey, do you want to direct a film? Which I think, and we've seen him already do a wonderful job with Thor Ragnarok, and also as Thor God and or Thunder and Love, I think it is the next Thor. So
he also just did Jojo Rabbit, which I am curious about, but at the same time, I've only heard good things. So things like that, he could totally do a really good movie for Star Wars with that much experience under his belt and that much notoriety. Like, I think it would be a bad idea not to offer it to him. I still think the next movies should be Rian Johnson's, but he would be a really good person to do like some more movies with.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I still think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni should honestly keep to the small screen, especially Dave Filoni. I would like to see him direct a Star Wars film, but I think he has a better visionary and storytelling through shows than he does with movies. Not saying yeah, not saying that he won't be good at it. I'm saying that in order to tell a story properly, it's better on a show than it is on the movie. And I think he would try to cram everything in once, and it just won't turn out as good as some people might think.
Yeah. That's another. Some people were, against the concept of bringing the world between worlds into episode 9 is because that's way too Filoni for the movie audiences to understand. It's just, it was even really weird in Rebels. A lot of what Dave Filoni does has to have that big long build up and times in that, environment before things can really start to make sense, I guess. He's way better at long storytelling.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like the world between worlds, I absolutely love that episode. And I think it's actually done it's done well, and to the point that it's got like that between timelines thing. And then of course now people are gonna expect that, oh yeah, time travel is gonna fix all the Star Wars. Well, no, it didn't, and that was the key, I think, in that episode, is that Ezra sees Kanan and he knows what's about to happen, and he goes, I can save him like I did with Ahsoka. But even Ahsoka was like, no, you can't. Like, the fact that you've already messed up for me, you can't do it to Kanan. He has to die. And so Ahsoka goes back to where she originally came from. So
yeah, some people who have started using the world between worlds as a thing to say, hey, some author can use that to bring Ben Solo back, for example, or just basically save anyone who ever died. It's just, that's not the point of that concept.
No, and it never was, and that's why I liked it.
I think Dave choosing to save Ahsoka through that unintentionally invited that mindset. Though it addressed it 5 minutes later with him not being able to save Kanan.
Yeah.
But people conveniently ignore that part of it.
Well, yeah, and the fact is, like at the end of season 2, you see, and that was the thing. You see Darth Vader coming out of the temple, and then you see a small figure going down the stairs, which I love that in the World Between Worlds, they actually got her to go down that path, so it wrapped it all up together. So the theory was that she was still alive.
Yeah.
And then of course Dave, going, Ahsoka lives, question mark, and then change the shirt to Ahsoka lives with an exclamation mark.
I think I had the exclamation one, and Dave had the question one. But
no, Dave had both. He switched
Dave
it.
grabbed exclamation
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. But yeah, back to Mandalorian. Rewatching the first one, because I like to see stuff, and now normally I do with subtitles. However, I didn't for the first round, so this time I'm doing it with subtitles. And actually listening to some of the dialogue, especially with the first episode for IG, when they are coming to an agreement on, like, we split the bounty, and IG says a really funny line, which I never caught the first time, was that the first time he was just like, it's acceptable, but I merit the reputation, meaning that, if sure, we can split the ward, but I get your reputation that I was the one that did it. And then it's like, we'll talk about that later, and he stands there going, I need an answer to accept. Like, he's programmed, like, I can't do anything until you tell me.
Alert.
And then he gets shot, and then he's like, alert!
Din doesn't like droids, is that conversation.
But then it's like, I have to initiate self-destruct. I was like, no, stop it! Like, the whole dialogue is so funny. But I am glad that they did bring IG-11 back for episode 7 and episode 8.
Yeah.
And even the fact, like, he pulls out that little humor, like the nervous system, and Din's like, you mean my brain? It's like, it was a joke. Like, it's just, the droid's trying to be funny. And
yeah.
And even then, like, saying to Jin, or to Din, I'm sorry, it's like, you don't have to do this. It's like, I understand. So now IG-11 understands that maybe Din doesn't think droids are all bad.
Yeah, I was so excited when it was first revealed that Taika was going to be voicing him, because I and so many other people were just hoping it would be an IG unit walking up to Mando with his gun drawn and then just going, hey man, I'm IG-11. I'm going to go break into this vault here. You want to come with me? Like, just use it. We were expecting that, but when it turned out to be the super, like, synthetic, like, Article 16 of the Bondsman Guild waiver, like, it's perfect for him. But it would have been so funny if he would have used his voice for that.
Oh, using his Korg voice. Oh, that would have been hilarious. Just, he shows up. Hey man, we're about to capture the city. Want to join us? Let the revolution begin. Like,
he holds the child, and Kara's like, "Is he okay?" It's like, "Oh no, the child's dead." I'm just kidding. He's right here.
No, and I love the fact that the child is force sensitive. He knows he's force sensitive, and even the scene where Din and Kara are arm wrestling. Of course, the child doesn't realize the difference and thinks that it's a full on attack. So
Din is struggling, grunting, strained, and thinks, I need to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of, I think Din realizes that's the big flaw with him taking him along. Like, that's, as the episode 3 is titled, that's the sin, is exposing the child to all of this violence.
Yeah.
It's a really cool payoff for the title of that episode, I think. And it's really cool in episode 6 when the droid is about to shoot him, and he holds up his hand, and then Din shoots him, and the child looks back at his hand like, huh? And then the flame trooper, which is like the fifth or sixth version of an Imperial flame trooper we've seen in canon so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exaggerating, but still. um he walks up and starts burning everything, and the child, stops it, pushes it back at him, and I think he still looks at his hands before falling asleep again. And then Grief Karga saying, "Come on, baby, do the magic hand thing," and he just does a little
Just
wave.
waves, like just. Oh yeah. No, I liked kind of not necessarily the symmetry with the stopping the flame to Kane and Jarrus Rebels. Um,
Oh,
I
comparisons were made.
yeah, so it
So
really shows how Dave Filoni, being the fact that he's done Clone Wars, he's done Resistance, he's done Rebels, and now he's done the Mandalorian. Like and this is why another further example of why Dave Filoni is such a good TV writer. The fact of doing this and the comparisons and everything that has happened with it.
exactly.
So.
Something that I just realized when I was rewatching episode 8 today
Mm-hmm.
is that when Gideon his guys are setting up the E-web. First time I saw that, by the way, I was like, "Oh my god, it's an E-web!" And then Kara's like, "It's an E-web," and I'm like, "Ah, they said it." But Gideon says something like, "Republic gunships massacred Mandalorian recruits by the thousands in the Night of a Thousand Tears."
Mm-hmm.
I he even name drops the Siege of Mandalore. I think what that's gonna be, we're gonna see that in the Clone Wars, but that's not gonna be Ahsoka and Bo-Katan leading the Force. That's going to be after Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
Clones turn on them, just like they turned on the Wookiees. That's what I'm thinking it is going to, be
Ooh. And of course, with Clone Wars coming out
exactly.
in a month's
We might.
time.
It'll be very brutal, but I think we might see it.
And
But
this furthers more of why, because with the Mandalorian, I've been talking with people who got Disney Plus, and then they're like, "Yeah, I'll give this a try." People have not been a big Star Wars fan, and they're like even older people who had never followed Star Wars, and they're like, "I really enjoy Mandalorian. Like, it's kind of cool. It sets the tone for this is not all Star Wars."
yeah,
Uh,
and this first piece of Star Wars content that my dad has actually had a mildly positive opinion of, because he is a huge Western fan.
mm-hmm.
You a Western movie under the sun, save for anything before like the 40s, I guess, and he's seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed it to my parents, and my mom has really started being a bigger Star Wars fan over the past couple years. But my dad was like, "It's okay. I don't mind it." And my mom turns to him and she's like, "That episode was the most generic Western story imaginable. How did you not like it more than he goes to track down a target and tames a bronco with the help of a local farmer?" Like, it's the most
mm-hmm.
Western story you can find. Even episode 4, that's a huge trope. Like, sure, a lot of people are trying to specify it's inspired by like samurai movies, but it's also inspired by westerns. They share a lot of similarities in the genre, and that's what Star Wars does, is it mixes things like that. And sure,
Well,
we training the farmers to fight off the pirates in Star Wars before Clone Wars, but this one was I honestly enjoyed this version better
yeah,
than in
yeah.
the
I was just about to say that, going back to, the symmetry between Yoda and Kane Jarrus, but also in the symmetry of that episode of training farmers
yeah.
or village people on to become warriors. We saw that exact same thing in the Clone Wars
And
with.
the widow who the I think it's the Relby rifle, that I think that's the same one Bosk uses, and she can just completely bullseye everything while
Mm-hmm.
everyone else even like hit the pans.
Yeah,
That was that's
and yeah, and Kara actually saying, AT-AT,
ATST.
ATST. Yeah, sorry, AT-AT
Yeah,
is the big
said,
four-legged walker.
I've seen one of these things tear apart a company of hardened veterans. You farmers will not stand a chance. Like that's serious. You can see and hear the pain in her saying that. She's seen some really bad stuff. And that line just cements it.
Right? Like it's so like overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's amazing to me now, because I picked this up after, but Cara Dune actually plays Angel in the Deadpool movie,
Oh,
and
cool.
I know, and apparently she used to be in UFC and stuff. So,
Oh, about that. Yeah, I think she was like a kickboxer. Yeah.
mm-hmm. uh,
Which, if you see her, duh.
well, yeah, and then now, of course, you got the fact that she wore a like a Disney princess dress, and of course, Disney being part of
Oh,
Star Wars being part of Disney, she's now a Disney princess, and so, same with Leia Organa.
and I love the video in the build up to the Rise of Skywalker where I think it was Josh Gad has all of these people bugging Daisy about answers for the Rise of Skywalker, and then Pedro and Gina are there like, come on, we're in the family. It was so funny. I I love those two. They fit right in with Star Wars, and it's even cooler that Pedro and Oscar are already really good friends and have started things together, like Triple Frontier on Netflix. I just wish that their characters would have been in close enough to the same era where we could see them reacting together on screen. Because Oscar Isaac and Pedro both being in Star Wars together would be amazing. They are both absolute awesome actors, and Triple Frontier, despite having Ben Affleck as pretty much the main character, is still a really good movie because of those two.
Yeah,
I'm not
which
big of Ben Affleck. I don't have an issue with him. I just
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
oh
but
well.
now we obviously we're done season one. Season one leaving off a big cliffhanger, which of course casual fans won't understand, but Clone Wars and Rebels will, and that is the freaking dark saber, which my reaction was, and of course because I didn't want any spoilers, because people like to spoil things. I waited until 1 o'clock in the morning till it came on Disney Plus, and then I watched it. And so this is almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I felt really bad for my neighbors, but I screamed and actually almost grabbed my headset and threw them off and fell out of my chair. Like when that dark saber appeared on screen, I was like, "What?" Like like I'm screaming. I could not believe it that this thing it just out of nowhere appears, and Moff Gideon has the freaking dark saber.
Yeah, when it first stuck through the I don't know if it's the ball is just the cockpit on its
Yeah,
own or
I
if it's
I think so. So
camouflage, but when it stuck through that first stab, I thought, "Ooh, he's cutting through." And then as it started to slice, it's like the gates of hell opened up. My screaming that insane. I'm just running around going, "No, it's not. No, it's not. No, no, no." And my mom is like, "Wait, I don't get it. What's so important about this? Why are you freaking out?" And I'm like, "You wouldn't get it. No, no, this is awful." And I am so torn on whether or not I like that reveal because it is amazing. The reaction I had was just pure feral rage. And but at the same time, that means something really bad happened to Bo Katan.
well,
And
not
I'm
necessarily
I'm
though.
very she would not give that up willingly, which means
Yeah.
or it was stolen from her. But from what we are aware of between Rebels and The Mandalorian, a lot of bad things happened to Mandalore, which means thematically she's probably going to come back, but realistically she's probably dead. But I love my mom's reaction to that because she didn't understand
Mm-hmm.
because only halfway through season 1 of the Clone Wars, and she's seen the first season of Rebels. She has, this is her, other than Boba and Jango Fett in the movies, she has no idea anything about Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
This show introduced her to it all. So she doesn't understand that. The Night of a Thousand Tears and, the Great Purge and Beskar, none of that means anything to her. But she's still super attached to the show and she loves it, and so many other people are the same way. The Mandalorian, it's been breaking streaming records, stuff like toppling Stranger Things and everything, because so many people, even if they're not huge Star Wars fans, still really love the show. It's that good. So that reveal of the dark saber was insane, but at the same time, I'm so scared of what it means.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw that, like, basically as soon as it cut through, because it pans over and I'm going, okay, he's not dead. And then it came up and I was like, no, like, I knew instantly that was the dark saber. And as it was cutting, I just kept going up and screaming. Like, I literally just grabbed the headphones and, like, took them off and almost threw them. Like, I couldn't contain my excitement. And I'm pretty sure if that was like in the movie theater, I probably would have just been jumped up and screamed, like just.
So, it would have been like Endgame when Captain America caught Mjolnir. It would have been one of those moments.
Yeah, it would have just you're jumping up, you're screaming, and that's to me. And of course, like standing on top with it, it's like okay, and then it ends like. Okay, now we got to think of what's going to happen for season 2 and who's also going to appear in season 2. Like you said before, let's hope Bo-Katan comes in. And I know that, from the picture, from a picture I've seen, I know it's from We Got This Covered, which is totally, totally unreliable. But the fact of, like, Bosk might come in, which I can see. Because it does...
Bosk, is one of like 2 or 3 characters in that entire list who could be plausible.
Yeah.
The rest of them, Thrawn, Ahsoka, Afra, Sebastian Stan as young Luke, like none of them made any sense.
No, and see that's the thing, like, because like honestly, say that, because from my from my understanding is they're now setting up a sequel to Rebels. Which
was a leak, which it should be announced over the summer, because now that Resistance is done, despite hardly any, coverage about it on official channels and everything like that, it came and went season 2, and it was great despite having a few filler episodes, and I already miss it despite the fact that it just ended last week. Now there's an opening for the next Star Wars animated show, which... realistically, that means Dave should be picking up the search for Ezra now, because it's been about 2 years since Rebels ended. 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah, and I can see if that's what the sequel route is going, I can see the adventures of Ahsoka and Sabine traveling across the galaxy, trying to look for it, and then it ends, and I think it'd be perfect, it ends with them finding Ezra, like, and then 1 episode interaction, and then that's the series finale. Just, again, it comes to the fact of the mystery of we don't know what happens with Thrawn. We don't know what happens with Ezra.
There are some theories based on the Thrawn trilogy of novels, because I'm
still working through my first one, so...
Okay, I don't want to spoil too much, but based on what's going on with the Chiss ascendancy at the time of Thrawn treason, which happens in that little gap of Thrawn leaving after Hera is captured and coming back the finale, that's when this book happens. Based on that, there's a lot of political unrest within the Chiss ascendancy, and potentially Thrawn is going to try and make his way to them to help out with that. And he might, recruit Ezra to help him out. He's able to convince him. And maybe that's where, the first season of finding Ezra, and then that onwards would be them helping the Chiss. Yeah. Because we still have Eli Vanto, Aralani, Commodore Faro, I really like her. I want to know concretely if she was still aboard the Chimera when the Purrgil launched,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, minor spoiler, but at the end of Treason, Thrawn says, you're to be you're to be reassigned to Coruscant as soon as we arrive back in the Lothar. So I'm not sure if that means she left right before or she was still there when the Purrgil attacked. So I'd like to see her in that show as well, because we only have her in these 3 books, and I really like her.
Yeah, and I would be okay if they had like Ahsoka and Ezra doing the whole searching thing, but then as a side thing, they also had Ezra and Thrawn in it. Um, to
Oh,
so
like the
so like
gives bounce,
yeah, it
but they
bounces
find.
back between.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
So
See,
and
I don't
then
like hopes up, because I did that for Rise of Skywalker first year leading up to it, and then about a week before, I just wiped my mind and said I just want to be happy and I want to enjoy the movie,
mm-hmm.
and even
Well,
that didn't really pass. So I'm trying to learn to manage my expectations, but at the same time, it is really speculative.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's just a rumor because nothing's actually officially been made as this is going to happen.
Yeah,
It's all speculation. It's all rumor until events like D23, Comic Con, announcements from the directors and stuff that this is going to happen. I take everything with a grain of salt nowadays, even when
yeah.
it comes to MCU stuff.
Unless official channels, there is no validity to it. Like
Yeah,
there a few days ago now. People have probably already heard of this and it's run its course already, but there's a guy who went on this random podcast, I don't even know the name of, claiming to play one of the Knights of Ren and saying I was there when they filmed the original ending. It was Ben Solo surviving and Rey dying, but they changed it last minute. And everybody jumped on that story until a few people said, okay, wait a minute, what's this guy's name? And they actually checked. The knight that he claimed to play, like, he doesn't appear anywhere in the credits of The Rise of Skywalker. He claimed to play a certain knight, but he's played by some completely different dude. It's just some random guy making stuff up. That's all that was. So the story's already running, but it did a lot of damage to, because it's the Star Wars fandom. There's always, unrest online, but this really shook things up. And even though it's been proven false, people are still, going to be talking about it for months now. But
yeah.
unless it is officially announced, don't believe it. That's my policy.
Yeah, and
It,
that's exactly what I'm doing as well.
if there are leaks or like rumors and stuff like that, just be like, this could be cool, but never believe it. That's my rule.
Well, and that was even when I saw the fact that Mando's name was leaked. I didn't even believe it. I thought, it's probably a fake thing. No big deal. And I watched it,
Yeah.
and I was totally surprised that they dropped the name.
So I think that's an exception, is when it's actually the cast saying something, but I mean, that still counts as an official channel, so.
Yeah. But even then, like, you've seen actors lie all the time, so yeah.
Oh, like with Rise.
Not just Rise of Skywalker, even
I'm just jumping on that. I've been in a kind of annoyed mood about the movie lately, but oh well. I'll try to
yeah,
refrain.
like you
for
know
the rest.
the fact of I know I'm diving into stuff of not even Star Wars related, but like DC's the Arrowverse and stuff. The one character Lucifer, the actor was seen in Vancouver where they shoot 90% of the Arrowverse, and they're like, "Are you going to appear in their big crossover?" He's like, "No, I'm not." And then all of a sudden, he has a quick 2-minute cameo scene, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I lied." So you can't even believe actors nowadays.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah, so
Well, Matt Smith is gonna be in The Rise of Skywalker, and a few months in, just I think around August, people were finally like, okay, I don't think he's actually in it, and I think he's just nowhere in it. I don't think he's in the actual. That was just a random rumor, or he dropped pretty early.
Hmm.
But people feel like, oh, he's this character. Oh, he's Claude. Oh, he's this. He's this. He's a young Palpatine. Like, shut up. Unless
Right.
the fate announced, leave it alone. And even then, don't claim that it's canceled just because there isn't any news lately. Like, every 2 months, people try to say Ryan Johnson movies have been canceled. And every couple months, Ryan has to be like, no, I'm still working on them. Stop this. It's just so annoying. Like,
Or the
it
fact
is.
of Obi-Wan's cancel show.
Oh, that was so dumb. I think that was another one of those we got this covered. It's just Ewan himself said it was just, a little bit of a script change. We haven't even started filming for a few months. Like, calm down, everyone. It's not a big deal. Like,
Hmm.
things like happen all the time in production.
Yeah.
It's so.
And, the fact that Ewan McGregor has to even say, like, no, it's not, like, delayed and stuff. Or it's not being canceled. It's just being delayed so it can be written better. Um,
Exactly.
which sometimes if a delay, if it's a delay meant for a good reason, why not just wait a couple? Like even the video game Cyberpunk 2077. It's
Yeah. Or turn.
it's scheduled to be
Which,
about 3 or 4 months delayed, and they've said it's already done. We are just improving it even better. So give us a couple more months, and people are like, yeah, sure, no problem.
yeah. That's the thing, is just because something's delayed doesn't mean something's been horribly, like, catastrophically wrong. Sure, that kind of happened in Solo, but like with Rogue One and all of the reshoots and everything, like, we have one of the best movies in the franchise because of those delays. Solo, it was still a good, fun movie, despite, me having several issues with it and it being, relatively forgettable in the grand scheme of things. It was still a good movie. Like, just because something has reshoots or delays doesn't mean something's gone wrong. So I'm really annoyed whenever people say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed Solo. I thoroughly enjoyed Rogue One. I mean, it's still outside of the uh, Skywalker saga. It's still one of my favorites. So,
Yeah,
like, just because something's delayed doesn't mean that anything or that something's going bad with it.
pretty much. Especially when it comes to games, that means it's going to be better than if it released, here. Like, when it comes to anything, if they keep that original release date, that's going to be rushed. If they delay it, that means they're able to take way longer. Right? It's simple math. It's just people need to stop and think for half a second, and then everything makes sense again. But it's the internet. Nobody has time for that. Oh, well. Any other thoughts about The
Um,
Mandalorian?
no, I think the only thing that I have that and this is kind of a almost a shot at the fan base in the hypocrisy of it, and this is what drives me nuts about the Star Wars fan base. I love Star
Oh,
Wars. I will always love Star Wars. Is the fact the child, yes, 50 years old, but in their species, he's still a child with little to no training in the Force, can pick up a mud horn the first time, block fire, even force heal. But as soon as Rey does it, it's oh well, she's a Mary Sue.
oh
I
God.
might have brought this up in the last our last episode. I can't remember.
It's really at the core of the whole, Ray Palpatine thing, because they had to come up with a blood reason to justify her powers, and I think Chris Terrio does not understand anything about Star Wars, which that's always a really rude thing to say, but those interviews where he tries to justify the decisions, it goes to show he had no idea what he was talking about, no idea what he was doing, and especially when you look at he was responsible for Batman versus Superman. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the whole Rey, you know, it doesn't matter how she got her powers. Whoop-de crap. The Force is the Force. Like Ahsoka says, when you start to think you know what's going on, you realize how little you really know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paraphrasing,
Yeah.
but still, the Force is, this magical, like, mysterious energy. It should never be quantified or measured by, like, specific power. That's how video games do it, and that's ruined people's perception of what the Force is. Like, games like Knights of the Old Republic, I'm not bashing them. It's just that's the only way that games can have the Force in a game environment is through specific levels and abilities. Like Fallen Order does it too. But I
Even
mean,
the Force Unleashed. Like, you
exactly.
play this really, really OP, and it shows that he's able to take on hundreds of stormtroopers. But in gameplay, you can't even take on one guy that's a force adaptive. To you try to force him, he just goes block. Nope, you gotta
Exactly.
attack me with the lightsaber.
The thing is, the best way to go about it, and I know some people really don't like it, but you just have to accept at the end of the day, there are two ways to look at the Force. Either it's whatever the writer needs it to be, or there's no way to understand the Force completely.
Mm-hmm.
Either way of looking at it is okay, but if you're having issues with, say, one character being able to do this while another one can't, just sit back and think of it in that respect, and it should just all wash away. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's the Force. It's not supposed to be a quantifiable power system like, say, chakra in Naruto. Like, that's not what it is. And the sooner people accept that, the sooner we can move on to more pressing matters.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I think we'll finish that part up of The Mandalorian. Next, we're going to now talk about The Clone Wars Season 7. Finally, after years and years of waiting and,
I think it's been 2 years since the announcement.
yeah, and that one
I
trailer, like,
really crying when that trailer was released. Like, I'm not too proud to admit, I was actually crying. It was amazing, especially
and
when you the fan reaction too. There are guys in full clone trooper armor, like hugging each other and everything. It was just,
yeah.
oh, oh.
And so I've been spending the past month rewatching Clone Wars and just kind of getting hyped up for it and just really focusing on some things that you know at a first glance, even at 100, like I've watched it in release order, I've also watched it in chronological order. I've even watched the unfinished episodes. And like I've watched everything multiple times, and even sometimes the background is always the best. And I think, do you remember that arc where in Clone Wars, and it's one of my favorite arcs, is when Obi-Wan goes undercover and becomes like Rocco Hardin.
Oh yeah.
If you're watching as they get out of the crematorium and they're attacking the clones and stuff, and Bane kills the one guy and stuff, and they're getting up, and you hear Bane like going to Morale, like, come on. Well, Morale's just punching a guy, and then it's like, oh, come on. He takes a second and then smacks the guy across the face. Like, he's already down. He just smacks him, and as he keeps going, like, it's the extra insurance, which I think is absolutely hilarious, because it's like the guy's already dead or knocked out or whatever, but he's getting pounded, and then just a smack across the face.
Another layer of disrespect.
So,
Just goes to show they're the bad guys.
yeah. And the whole the whole Clone Wars as a general, where you had some that were just straight out straight out clone episodes, which I loved. You had Domino Squad, that arc with Heavy and Echo.
Cut up and dry.
yeah, droid bait. And then of course Echo dying in the Citadel was a gut wrench. Like,
Oh, I think I was in like seventh grade when that happened, and that ruined me for a week
like
because
just.
the Clone Wars got me through middle school and most of high school.
Mm,
Echo was next to Rex, obviously. Echo was my favorite clone. The
yeah,
handprint that he left on his armor was so cool, and seeing that happen and the episode ending with his burnt half helmet was just
oh yeah.
oh, and Five's just screaming Echo, and it's
Well,
just
and this is a small little detail that has been popping up as well, with Fives and Echo when they got back to Camino, after, of course, the Rishi outpost. They actually
yeah,
have commemorations of Heavy on their armor.
yeah, the little minigun
Yeah.
insignia. Yeah,
But then, of course, as well as commemoration, which this is now popping up because of last week's death of Kobe Bryant, where, for those of you who didn't know, the droid in the Citadel is a purple and yellow one, which the color didn't really strike me, but it's actually a tribute to Kobe Bryant because the droid's name is K2B4, B4, which is Kobe Bryant and number 24, which I think that is really cool. And now all of a sudden, with the death of Kobe Bryant, it's now sparking a lot on Twitter and Facebook and
yeah.
stuff.
I saw it on Twitter a few times over the past little bit.
I still see it, and I think it's kind of cool.
And I remember that one being a really cool color. There was, I think, who was it? I think Trench in season 6 had like a red and gray one. Like there are some really cool tactical droids. Even super tacticals aside, like Kalani, the tactical droids in general, I love the design. They're so like blocky looking, but still really like threatening with their voice, and
Mm-hmm.
they just really cool. We need more Lego figures of because I love. But I what I just whenever I think Star Wars, I think clones. I think Fives with his Rishi eel design on his helmet. I think of like Jesse with the Republic like emblem tattooed on his forehead. I think Kix with the only good droid is a dead droid tattooed on the side of his head. I just in eighth grade, one of my friends actually challenged me to see how many clones I could name. I think I got up to like 150 something by the end.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there
and
I love the clones. That is Star Wars to me. I've always loved them even when I was a little kid, second grade when episode 3 came out. The 2D Clone Wars was the coolest thing I had ever seen. Fordo and his soldiers fighting Grievous on Hypori, getting Mundi, Shaak Ti, and Ayla Sakura out of that. And I just they used to just be like this nameless, faceless, CGI background army. That 2D show really brought in a lot of the personality to them. Even just little bits like the elevator going down and Grievous running down, and the one trooper just looking, loading the rocket launcher, pointing it right at him, and firing it in the middle of the elevator. Or on Munilist, there's one of the ARC troopers, I think, is standing right beside Obi-Wan, and Ventress flies by, and he's like, "That's not one of ours." "No, General." "That was Anakin." "Yes, General." It's just
yeah,
the clones, even before the actual Clone Wars series happened, they were some of my favorite characters, and this series just completely changed like I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it changed my life and who I am because even in like fifth and sixth grade, it would air every like Friday or so. I'd always be like really like antsy to get home. Mom would pick us up from school, and I'd be like rushing her to get back in time because for some reason Teletoon aired it at 3:30 on a Friday. So as soon as she unlocks the, I'd sprint down to the basement to the TV, turn it on just in time to see like the commercials ending, turn the volume all the way up to have the Clone Wars theme completely blasting through the house. Mom would be stomping on the floor and shouting, "Turn that down." And it just, then every Monday, go back to school, freak out about the new episode with my friends. And so many of us, like, we eventually, like, ended up seeing the clones, the men we would want to grow up to be, like these, strong, like, honorable, good guys who, like, had these attachments to, like, their brothers, basically. That's who we wanted to be. Little, like, fifth grade, like, 10-year-old us. That's who we looked up to. We're men like Rex and Cody, Fives and Echo. Like, the Clone Wars means so much. And I know that there's a whole generation of Star Wars fans who feel the exact same way. Whether it's the clones themselves, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka especially, all of the women fans out there now, like, it's just, holy crap, the Clone Wars has meant so much. And it's just, like I said, I literally cried when that trailer came out a couple years ago at Comic. It means so much.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you get Attack of the Clones. Well, we don't know any of the clones' names. We all know that they all are the same. They're the donor of Jango Fett.
I mean, who goes with Windu there? That's actually Pons.
Really?
That's been, yeah. That captain who's like, oh, we've got this division here and here, and he's like, all right, follow me. Windu was like, all right, I want him to be with me so he can give me updates. But then he recognized his combat abilities because he's just in like the engineering corps or something like that, or communications.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually like, you handled yourself well out there. I like you. I want you to be my second in command, and promoted him to commander. And that was Pons.
And yeah,
I think that
Pons died, didn't he? In the
yeah, Forrest Sane shot him, and
yeah.
I was so mad about that.
Yeah, no, that's
was another moment. Clone Wars, it ruined me for a week. Oh man, to this day, my least favorite season finale is season 2 because of Lethal Trackdown. It was cool, but at the same time, Pons shouldn't have died.
Mm-hmm.
I think that named officer should have, but it makes sense why, because it gave it more urgency. It gave it more of a serious threat that we just lost one of our favorite clones. This is a serious issue. So
well, yeah, and
it makes that they did that, but I'm still mad that Pons died because I loved that guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing with episode 3. Of course, you had like Commander Cody, which was a well-known one, but other than Commander Cody, I don't think we had officially names in episode 3. I mean, could be wrong.
I don't think Gree was named. I think Cody was the only clone who was officially named.
Yeah.
But Gree was, big silver helmet and all that kind of stuff. Like, we did get names to a bunch of them in, like, the source books and stuff. But in the movie, I think I think one of the pilots who was in the Arc 170s with Anakin and Obi-Wan was named. But other than him, and I think he was it Jet or was it, I can't remember, Oddball, I think. One of them. But in the actual movie, the only spoken names are that pilot and Cody, as far as...
Yeah, but then, of course, Clone Wars gives us, like, clones to everything, and I like the fact of why they named it, so that way, the Jedi don't see them as of just a faceless person bred for war. That they actually view them as person. Even in Plo Koon, like, says, like, the clones are just like, well, we're just, we're here to be sacrificed. We're just bred for war. And Plo Koon's like, well, no, you mean somebody to me.
See, that's the thing, is just the other day, someone was saying that, Rex and the other clones don't have souls because they're engineered, they're artificial. Everybody slapped back with pretty much the entirety of the Clone Wars series, but specifically the literal first episode of the series was about Yoda, Reese, Jack, and Thyre, and Yoda basically saying to them, yeah, you're clones, but you still have a connection to the Force. You're still
Mm-hmm.
individuals. You're people. You
Well,
are yourself.
for
Doesn't matter if you look identical to other people.
yeah,
And that's what I love about Plo Koon as well. Plo Koon's one of the best Jedi, mostly because of the Clone Wars. Everybody's like, oh, hey, we'll give you the 104th Battalion. And he's like, I shall treat my sons well. No, they're soldiers. They are my sons. And
yeah,
then boosting her outside of the escape pod, like, we're just clones, sir. We're meant to be expendable, not to me.
not to me.
Like,
Yep.
that was the most powerful thing in Star Wars for a solid year for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and,
uh,
and and that's the thing, like, and you got to give it to the voice actors. You know, you got James Arnold Taylor, who does Obi-Wan, a fantastic job. But he also does Plo Koon, and he explains it that he did that voice based on Ian McKellen. Like, just he thought of Plo Koon as this wise old man, and that's where he got the voice from. But then, of course, you know, you got D. Bradley Baker, who does every single one of the clones, and he's the one that came up with the idea to have all the different named clones talk differently, so that he himself, as he's recording, can depict which one's talking, but
yeah,
also gives it as another personality thing.
yeah, all of the behind the scenes episodes, every time a new episode would come out, one of them, I think, I can't remember which episode exactly, but Dee did say, you know, when there's, I think the example he used was on Voyage of Temptation with the Duchess on the Coronet. There are those two troopers who are sneaking around. One of them is like, I'm gonna go check out the West Hallway, and the other guy's like, careful out there, it's dark. Like, one of them's a more like, you know, a rookie, like higher pitched, like eager. The other one's like a little more experienced and deeper. All of them have like, not all of them, but there are distinctions between the voices. Dee and James Arnold Taylor, so many of the cast have they they're some of the best voice actors out there. They're amazing.
Oh
And
yeah.
also Dee also voices Bosk.
Oh yeah.
He few characters in the series actually.
Oh,
But I think
okay.
Bosk and the
D.
clones are
Bradley
the
Baker, and I checked out his IMDb the other day. He has 599 credits to him. Basically, any cartoon that's out there, D. Bradley Baker is in it somehow.
and
And
if it's not Dee, it's probably James. Between the two of them, they probably have every modern tune out there.
oh yeah, and considering the fact that, you know, even in James Arnold Taylor, which he has his own podcast, he talks about the fact that he does Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. He did the voice of Ratchet in the Ratchet movie, and he's not even on the poster. Like he's
Wow.
like, I'm the main character. How am I not on the poster? Nope, Sylvester
So
Stallone is
they
because
that Obi-Wan Kenobi voices Johnny Test, that was a surprise, to say the least.
but I've seen him do it live, and that's hilarious because he doesn't just do Johnny Test. He does Darth Vegan. He does the Beekeeper. He does Mr. Mins. He literally does half the villains. He does Hank Anchorman. James Arnold Taylor also does the voice of the announcer for the Fox promos for like Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, Simpsons, and he shows that in his podcast, which definitely a recommendation for sure.
Yeah. Even if we're gonna still talk about the voice actors, like Matt Lanter, a long time in my life, like especially with the like high school, especially, I thought like I was still in that whole, you know, yeah, I love the prequels, but everybody just beats them down so bad, and Hayden Christensen isn't a good Anakin. I don't think that now, but at the time I did.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought Matt Lanter is the Anakin we should have had. And I don't think that anymore. I still think Matt Lanter was the perfect Anakin for the Clone Wars because, you know, Hayden Christensen was incredible, but Matt Lanter, I still think he's a bit of a better Anakin than Hayden. Not to dump on Hayden, but I like Matt as Anakin way better. His version, the Clone Wars version, is so much better, so much more entertaining, and I just like him a lot more. It might be because we have more time with him, but like I just don't like the more like whiny voiced Anakin that we have in movies and in the original
Mm-hmm.
Clone Wars. That I don't enjoy Anakin when he's like that.
Yeah, and can we talk about the fact of that shot that when the door opens and in the trailer for the season 7, and Anakin's there and he's got the Revenge of the Sith hairstyle, like
Oh, and the outfits are finally at the episode 3 level now, and
yeah.
oh, cool.
So, but we've got the synopsis for the first 2 episodes of the series, which is going to be released weekly, from my understanding,
Yeah, I
and
think I did the math, and the final episode is going to air on May the 4th, if I'm remembering right.
if it's every Friday, because there's 12 episodes, I believe.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Someone did the
So
math, and
one,
that
two,
end.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, May the 4th is a Monday.
Oh, damn.
So
Maybe they're math. Oh, wait, no, I think that was because there was that one Disney Plus thing that was like, oh, yeah, the Clone Wars is coming out on this day, but then like a week later they changed it. I think it was that initial day was when they did that, but
yeah,
that must have been what it was.
May the 4th, a
Oh,
Monday. Ooh, that's gonna be something,
damn.
because yeah, I always like to book it off for work, so I actually start as soon as it hits 12 a.m. May the 4th. I start my Star Wars marathon and I
Yeah.
go for the full 24 hours.
That
So
was fun. I was there, yeah.
yeah, yep. You still cry at episode 8 every time.
Even when I watch it now, like it's still.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
Which this one's gonna be the longest because it's gonna include episode 9 too.
I mean, is it going to be out by then?
Probably.
Yeah, probably, but I'm not quite sure because sometimes it takes like several the Star Wars movie is actually out. I think The Last Jedi came out
Well,
June.
let's face it. Considering the fact that I have Disney Plus and it's got um, all of them except for Solo, which Netflix has Solo, so I literally can
Uh,
watch the entire series through Disney Plus.
pretty much.
I would just have to stream the
Yeah,
Last Jedi or the Rise of Skywalker.
because I went out and bought the entirety of Rebels when it was all released. And now that it's on Disney Plus, I don't need them anymore.
But at the
But
same time, you have the behind the scenes stuff. You've got the extras, which you won't get on Disney Plus.
it's really cool. And I still am disappointed that I've never been able to find the physical. But I think I looked online and it is super expensive. But oh well. It's going to be on Disney Plus in its entirety once this new season comes out. It's already. Still, the day it came off of Netflix finally, I remember. I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but every time for like 3 years, every time Netflix was like, we're going to be taking the Clone Wars off, the huge outpourings of, no, you're not. Every time it got delayed and then delayed again. And then just like last year, I think they finally took it off for like officially because it was going to be on Disney Plus. I don't know if it has anything to do with, feedback, but I like to think it is because that makes it feel like we do have a voice that can actually affect things. But it's just really funny that for a few years there, every time they were trying to take it off, a few weeks later, the day would come and go and it would still be on. Is really.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it's on Disney Plus. I'm glad that we have Disney Plus. I find it interesting that people would remove Disney Plus, thinking that The Mandalorian was the only thing on Disney Plus to worth watching. But it's like, okay, we have Clone Wars, we have Season 2, we've got Obi-Wan. So are they going to do this every time? Get the subscription, watch it within a week, and then cancel theirs? Like,
Here's the thing. It's actually cheaper to do it that way. So I can respect people who do that because, paying a subscription for so many months just because you want to watch one episode at a time on release, like a lot of people, they think it's more cost effective to just do 1 month or even the free trial, watch it all in that week, and then just, well, there's not going to be any like new shows on there for this time, so there's no reason to keep it. But I think it makes sense for people to do that because, not everybody wants to watch everything Star Wars, Disney. They were just interested in the Mandalorian, or they just, don't have enough money to keep their subscription like year round. So I do think it's funny when people are like, well, Mando's over, time to cancel my subscription. I think that's funny, but I don't think it's dumb by any means.
Well, to me, like, growing up watching some of these Disney shows, like Kim Possible and Recess back, like, because I'm a 90s kid. So watching those, that was reliving my childhood. So to me, Disney Plus was worth it regardless. Like, I had no intention of canceling it. And I still have Netflix because of the fact of Netflix original shows. I wanted to watch, BoJack Horseman just released its final episodes, which I'm sad it's over now. But, and still, between those two, those are my only streaming service, and it's $20 a month. Which, compared to cable, it's like, I was paying cable and internet for like $140. So, wow. I dropped the cable. I still have this. I still have the two streaming services and my internet, and it still cost me less than $100. So...
Yeah, Disney Plus is the only service that other than Netflix, that I actually like want to have, because obviously we're doing a Star Wars podcast. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm also a huge Marvel fan. All of the shows and everything, and all of the movies being in one place, you bet it's worth it.
Exactly. And to me, I think it's more content than Netflix, Disney Plus.
Pretty much. It is comparable, because I think they said everything that is on Disney Plus will be on it until the service eventually, shuts down however many years from now or whatever. Nothing's going to be on a rotation. It's going to be on here, and it's going to be on.
Yeah, it's not going to be like Netflix where it will show up and then take away, show up, take away.
I've always been annoyed by that.
Yeah.
I mean, legally they don't have an option, but Disney, they own the rights to everything. So I guess that's the advantage of having a monopoly.
I mean, it's like, Simpsons is already on Disney Plus, so I can just see it that Family Guy and Bob's Burgers are eventually going to show up there. I have a feeling that that's what's going to happen within the next year or two.
I guess it's possible. But other than Netflix, the only other service that I'm tempted to try is Hulu, purely because of The Expanse. That's the only show out there that I'm interested in enough to consider another service, but I'm not spending $12 a month for one show. So that's the thing, is you really got to judge what are the advantages of this service compared to the others, and what is on there that I don't already have, and you got to think, is this worth me spending this amount every month? So that's why I think Disney Plus, it pretty much is worth it, despite giving way more money to the mouse every month. It's just, there's so much on there. I caught up on all of the Marvel movies that I hadn't seen for a long time. Watched through every Star Wars. I'm making my way through them again. And even between all that, I went and watched Emperor's New Groove, because I hadn't seen that in years. It's one of my favorite Disney movies.
Exactly. It's such an underrated thing.
We need style Star Wars where it's just yes, the plans for the Death Star plans, something like that happening in Rogue One would have been hilarious, and for a fact it would have either been Chirrut or K2 who would have said it.
No.
We already know who would have said it, but that movie and Atlantis are in my opinion, the two best 2D Disney movies.
Well, you do realize that in the second Atlantis, Milo Thatch is actually voiced by James Arnold Taylor.
Sweet.
And I'm dead serious. He actually replaced the role of who the voice actor for the first one.
Oh, believe you. That makes perfect sense.
But if you watch them back to back, you wouldn't know.
Because he's such a good imitation actor. So yeah,
Exactly.
now that the Clone Wars is like back home, basically, like it's got a place where it's not gonna be like, temporarily. Like that's now my mom's finally able, because when it was coming out when I was a kid, she was like, "It's Star Wars, it's a cartoon, and I hate how it looks." No, I'm an adult. But now she's like, "Yeah, I want to watch it."
Well, and see that's the thing.
So
Like a lot of times they said the cartoon was for kids and stuff, but then when you really dive into what Clone Wars really was, and even
it
Rebels, um, like the
Clone
fact
on its
is,
deeper.
the hmm?
The Clone Wars on its own is deeper than the movies. Like before the Last Jedi brought it up, the Clone Wars brought the whole war profiteering and government corruption, all that kind of stuff to the forefront of the universe.
Oh
The
yeah,
Last Jedi amplified it into the movie sphere. Sure, the prequels were very political, and that's one of the reasons I love them, but the Clone Wars really dialed that up. There are entire episodes all about the politics,
oh
and I
yeah,
love
and the whole war, like and they were making bills of should we be producing more clones? This is how much it's going to cost us. Oh, this
we're
is going to deregulate the banks. We're going to be destroyed.
exactly. It's
So
amazing. I
like it,
love that, and there's so much there that kids just wouldn't understand that adults are like, "Oh my god."
yeah,
You
like
compare it to the real world and it is shocking how real it is.
yeah, and
It's
and same with the fact that like even the one the whole arc with the Zygerian slavery and stuff. How
yeah.
how Obi-Wan has his lightsaber ready and it's like you wouldn't kill an unarmed man. It's not the Jedi way. And immediately Obi-Wan just looks at Rex and Rex just
I'm
straight out like goes, "I'm no Jedi." Like
See, the thing is, Rex is, I think, number 2 for most reliable Giga Bro in the galaxy, second only to Chewbacca. That is an honor for Rex to be number 2 behind Chewbacca. Like, he is my favorite character, one of my like top 3 favorite Star Wars characters, easily my favorite Clone Wars character. Like, I love Rex. He's
yeah.
amazing. Like
And
the first I saw the movie trailer, it was like just heading on my way into, like, it was the summer before I started middle school, just ended 4th grade. I see on TV Anakin standing there with us with like a blue clone trooper with these awesome like triangle shapes on his helmet,
mhm.
and it's like, "What's our plan of attack, sir? Follow me." And he jumps down and starts cutting the crap out of everything. Like, Rex is cool. And in the trailer I saw, they lighting was like black color, which made it look even cooler. But the other trailers it showed he was blue. But that original one I saw where he had like black coloring,
Mhm.
that was the coolest look I had ever seen on a clone since Captain Fordo on Coruscant in the original Clone Wars.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. Like Clone Wars brought so many new characters into the full of canon. You got Cad Bane, which is still my favorite bounty hunter, next to Embo, which I think of him as the Captain America because his hat was used as a shield and everything. Uh, and then you got Hondo Anaka, which bringing him back in Rebels, that was a very nice little delight.
And Galaxy's Edge.
And Galaxy's Edge, yes, and I'm hoping so. I kind of can see Hondo being in the Mandalorian season 2. That would be kind of a cool transition because we've seen what the Empire did to his pirate operation. We can see so it's like, okay, we've seen from what he was in Clone Wars, what he is in Rebels, but what is he after now that he's actually lost um, everything basically. Like he even does the whole battle of Lothal.
Pretty much.
So and then it's like, okay, where does he go from there now? Like his character's not finished.
Yeah, and there have been a few books and comics about him that tie into his time at Galaxy's Edge, but apparently he has a ship that he named after the youngling that he met in that one arc. I can't remember her name.
Katuna.
Something like that. Yeah, the same species as Adigalia and stuff.
Yeah.
That he named a ship after her.
Katuni, that's
like,
what it is.
Something like that. Yeah, it's really cool. There are a lot of awesome details about Hondo. He's one of my favorite characters just in the Clone Wars alone. I remember I was back home for Christmas. My mom got to the episodes where he's introduced, and I thought, you're gonna get to meet one of my favorite characters.
Well, and see, that's the thing. Like,
he's like, well, you must be the owner of this fine ship, and I'm just like, there he is. And she's like, this guy, and I'm like, you'll learn to love him.
and see, that's the thing with a Hondo. Like, the first episode, we meet him, and of course, like it's the whole he's. It's like, well, one Jedi, well, you got three. That's just doing good business. Like, and then of course when Count Dooku leaves, and it's like, well, we've got nothing. And so the Jedi are just, okay, whatever, we're gonna leave you alone. And he's like very honorable. Like, he recognizes the fact that they're willing to keep his word, so he'll keep his word. Like, he's a very honorable man.
But the Separatists aren't. Like,
yeah.
So, it's very funny. And I don't remember if this happened on screen. Oh, wait, yeah, I think it did. With the droids actually, like, attacking base. I think that did actually happen during that Younglings.
Yeah, it happened during the Younglings and stuff.
Like 3 seasons later. It's pretty funny.
Well, yeah, and then, of course, there's the whole deal that they're cleaning up after the mess, and then all of a sudden, Maul and Savage come.
Which got 3 lieutenants on our side. Those traitors! I'm so proud.
It's like, and then
for your insolence. We're pirates. We have no idea what that means. I love Hondo so much.
Jim Cummings does a wonderful thing, but I found out the cool thing is the actor who played the Deveranio in the Mandalorian, like the one that's flameproof.
The Deveronian, yeah.
Yeah, he's the voice actor of Savage Opress.
Yep.
So,
I remember hearing that.
So I thought that was kind of cool of, like, the connections, the connections that Dave Filoni has between these shows.
It's so cool.
So
even in Rebels, Hondo's like, I'm rich. He looks back, I'm dead. He's so funny. The Clone Wars did so much for Star Wars. That's why, to me, and a whole generation, like you probably as well, it is Star Wars. The Clone Wars is Star Wars to so many of us. And that's prequels, the show, everything. It all works together. It all, like, builds off of each other. Even, a lot of people hate Jar Jar. I still think he's one of the most important characters in the saga. Well, even him being Clone Wars was great. And then I can't remember if it was season 4 or 5, the Gungans beat General Grievous and capture him.
Yeah.
Like, Gungans are amazing. And I love that they came back in the Clone Wars to do that and prove they are amazing.
And
they
of course, but then, of course, that's the one thing about Clone Wars is they killed off the Gungan general, the one that was in Episode 1.
Yeah. What was his name again? Like Tarpol?
Tarpol, yeah.
Yeah. He was awesome.
And even his line is just like, how does it feel to now die? And it's just like, not die, sacrifice. So he sacrificed himself.
Exactly. Like the Gungans have always been a warrior culture, and Jar Jar has been the exception to that. So it was really cool to, even though it was proven in The Phantom Menace, people like to magically ignore things that's what they say. Like, the Gungans held their own quite a while against the droids. They put up one hell of a good fight. Then they just prove it again. They take down Grievous.
And the fact that they use the army more than once, because even in the Civil War between the Quarren and the Mount Calamaris, it's like, we need Like, we need a warrior race who's aquatic. Well, what about Naboo? And it's just like, yeah, we have to think about this for a while. And Jar Jar's going, no think. Padme would do the same thing. You're right. Thinking is over. Let's go. Like,
Yeah, like Jar Jar is one of the most important characters in the saga. That's one time I said that Jar Jar and Rose, they mean a lot to the overall story of Star Wars. Some random, Comicsgate fanboy was like, "What do you mean by that? That makes no sense. You mean they're both terrible and that's why?" It's like, no,
no.
because he's an outcast who's not treated like even as a person by the people he like is a part of, the people who he should belong with. He gets kicked out, exiled because he's different. He's a little goofy. He doesn't fit into the warrior culture. He meets people who, sure, Qui-Gon was kind of a jerk to him, but everybody like Padme, Anakin, they treated him like a person, like he mattered, and he had to watch so many of them die. And even in the end of his story, he gets exiled by the Gungans again. He decides, instead of, going off and brooding, he becomes like a street jester to make, the refugee kids from the Civil War feel better. Like, he is a good character. He's amazing. And that's one thing that I love about the Clone Wars is they brought him back a lot more like screen time.
Well,
He deserved it.
yeah, and even in the fact of in the Hondo episode where we first see Hondo, it's like, okay, well, who's now in charge? Well, that would be Representative Binks, and it's like, oh, well, let's and even the clones have picked up that it's like, okay, watch this, just go do your thing, Jar Jar, and sure enough, he takes down 3 ships.
Exactly. Like he knows more than people think. Like he is way smarter than people think. Just because he's goofy doesn't mean he's like stupid.
No.
Like he realizes we're okay in these geysers. Those animals are around because they wouldn't be around it if it was about to erupt. Like they're the wildlife. They know, and he's smart enough to understand that. Soon as the animals leave, we gotta go. They just make it out in time, and then they end up riding the animal. Like it's and yeah, he takes down those tanks. He blows up the power Hondo's palace, and then it's like, well, time for us to go. Like Representative Binks saved us. Like it's
Yeah.
so, and that's what I love about Stone is because he was a clone who was like, "You're in charge. I'm gonna trust you," and
and
was paid off.
Yeah,
it was well deserved.
And when Jar Jar poses as the Jedi and stuff, and he pulls out a giant beast.
I love that episode. He befriends that that swamp slug or whatever it is. Like that just goes back to the whole the good guys work with nature, the bad guys work to exploit it. Like it just at the core of Star Wars, and Jar Jar is another big example of that in those 2 episodes. Jar Jar is amazing, and he did the beginning of. I think there is actually an arc in the Lost Missions where him and Windu work together, but I only saw it once. I need to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, there is, and it's because of a species that they're constantly being disappeared, and the Queen says, we need somebody, and it's like, okay, well, who we send? Well, we want Jar Jar, and because the Queen and Jar Jar had a history together.
Yeah, and then she's like his girl or something. I remember that much at least.
So, and the fact is, like, and Mace is just trying to like get Jar Jar on track, and Jar Jar's like, okay, whatever.
I love Jar Jar, and it's so cool that Ahmed Best is gonna be doing like this game show on Disney Plus because
it's a trivia about Star Wars.
That's cool.
Because I watched a video of what's coming to Disney Plus in 2020, and that's one of them, and a few other things as well. Mandalorian's coming out this fall.
Yeah, which I probably should have mentioned in the Mandalorian segment, but if in season 2 we have an entire episode about the armor, or at least we have a book about her, I will be more than happy because she's one of my favorite characters in that show.
And every time I watch the armor and I see what's happening, people theorize that is Bo-Katan.
It's not.
I know
If
it's
it
not.
was Katie Sackhoff to do it, but they got I think her name is like Emily Swallow or something like
Yeah,
that.
Emily Swallow.
Yeah, like she is a really good character, really good actor. I just even if she shows up in the Clone Wars, like during the Siege of Man, something that would be really cool. Even if it's not like confirmed, it's like oh, you know, she voices one of the background characters. Like that would be enough because I really like that character.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Oh, but I'm really looking forward to the Siege of Mandalore. There's a guy on YouTube doing a big mock for Mandalore out of Lego, and it's looking amazing. And he's so excited about the Siege of Mandalore, and it's all how the capital looks in the show and everything. It's a really cool, big, like giant environment that he has, and he's
Mm-hmm.
I love Mandalore's architecture and stuff. The only thing that I don't like about Mandalore in the is that it is very white. Like every other Mandalorian, glimpse we have into their people has been super like ethnically diverse. Like the Mandalorian show, the main character is a Hispanic guy. In Rebels, the main Mandalorian we have in that show is Asian. Like in the Clone Wars, everyone is white. And really weird. It is the whitest planet in Star Wars, and that's saying something.
Well,
Like, wow.
I'm excited for Siege of Mandalore because not only do we get to actually see what happens, and I think I said this in our last episode where I think it'd be perfect having the Bad Batch arc first, then Ahsoka leaving the Jedi
Ahsoka's
Temple,
I think is what that's called.
and then leading it up to Siege of Mandalore. So we got the Bad Batch first, so I think I'm on the right track here. But having the Siege of Mandalore finally being shown, because we've seen like Dave Filoni been given snippets of this is what they had planned, and now they have it planned out. And
Yeah,
I got
I
really
think
excited when they said that not only is Sam Witwer coming back as the voice of Maul, but they got Ray
oh,
Park, who
yeah,
did Maul in the not only the Phantom Menace, but also in Solo. But they had him do the CGI stuff for it, the motion capture,
yeah,
I should say. So now we're gonna get a really, really good fight, and the two characters who bring Maul to life are gonna be back together, like they did in
yeah.
Solo.
And by the way, I just want to say there's this one dude out there who has this show talking about how if Ahsoka beats Maul, he's done with Star Wars. I just want to say bye. We already saw her beat Maul in Rebels. So,
Yeah, and
dude.
he still lives. And he lives in Rebels all the way until he dies. Although, somebody did a comparison from that the Obi-Wan and Darth Maul fight in Rebels.
Yeah.
Maul tries to do the same move he did to Qui-Gon.
Oh yeah.
Like,
That's one of the reasons people love that duel is it's so short but there's so much behind it. Yeah. That's one of the big reasons is like Obi-Wan starts with form 3 but then he's like I want to do form 4 like what Qui-Gon did. So Maul's like I can do the same move that he did. But then it turns out no, Obi-Wan only switched his starting stance. He was still doing the moves for 3 and tricked Maul. Yeah.
yeah,
That
and the fact of if you line them up if you line them up together, Obi-Wan's higher, so he has the high ground again.
Yeah, I think it was like a 181 degrees or something like that. Yeah. I can't remember exactly, but it was like 1 or 2 degrees higher up than Maul is. So yeah, technically he does have the high ground.
So,
That's why he put on a jet when Bo-Katan was getting him out of there is because it's a portable high ground.
Right?
Yeah, Bo-Katan is such a great character. I'm really excited to see her with Ahsoka because the last time we saw them together was when Bo slapped her ass like, Lux, you should have a girl who has a bit more meat on her bones.
Oh yeah, I actually just watched that one.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
is that the
funny.
last time they met?
That's the first time they met, and I think that's the only time. It's pretty funny.
Hmm.
Yeah. That I think was the first time Bo like took off her helmet was that episode, and that's when she became like an actual character that we followed through with for the Clone Wars. Because
Mm-hmm.
she like started taking off her helmet, and it's like, oh yeah, she's like the second in command, like when Maul was around. Yeah, that was the first episode where we actually see her. It's when she's assaulting Ahsoka. Are you sure? Kids show.
Yeah,
It's so funny.
yeah. There's a lot of adult stuff
I'm
in Clone Wars. And like I said, even in Rebels, it comes off as a kid show for the first season, but once you get more diving into it, it really is more than just a kid show. Like Kanan Jarrus saying, like when he's training Sabine, like remember it was the Jedi who won the war. Now he didn't say
Yeah.
Mandalorian Wars, but we all know that that's the war he's talking about.
I mean, in Legends, weren't there like 25 different wars between Mandalore and the Jedi?
The
I
main
mean,
one is the fact of the Mandalorian Wars. That is the
yeah,
main one.
no idea which of the like 57 wars that actually is, but I know that there are quite a few importance, and I'm assuming that if we do end up having an era that um, Tar Vizsla is actually going to be a significant character, it's going to be around that time,
Mm-hmm.
so that it really tie that whole story in. I'm really excited to see if they're going to do that because like that would be a missed opportunity if they didn't. I'm really excited to see Tar as an actual character. And then they could have like, oh, later Shave is I think the name was the Old Republic game.
Yeah.
Like when they assault the temple, that she gets it back.
Oh
Like they could
yeah,
still
and
does it.
I believe that full heartedly that is because in the book Deceived, the first few chapters is that whole trailer where you're basically reliving the whole trailer, but in the mind of Malgus, and he even was saying that like the bounty hunter is like, okay, the bounty hunter's done this job, now they can go. And but that's the thing, you don't know that bounty hunter's name until literally the Shadow of Revan expansion, which is the second expansion. That's when they introduce her as the Torch, I believe, and it's Shea Vizsla. Now it's a different spelling, but I full heartedly believe that she was when she was in that Jedi temple. I can see her kind of like finding her because you see her by herself quite a bit, and it's like if she finds the hall or something, and she sees the lightsaber and recognizes that is a Vizsla culture thing, that and then she just takes it.
Yeah. I think that's what they were going for, was her being the one who got it back. Like I'm pretty sure the EA got this is we're gonna tie this in with the Clone Wars, like because I'm pretty sure it happened at the same time when it was like, oh, this has been stolen back from the Jedi by my people. They would have been like, all right, well, let's make a character who is that person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were going for. Was that even if it's spelled differently, that's what they meant to do.
And
So
I can't
really,
remember if the Clone Wars was happening before the Old Republic game, whether they tied it all in and stuff.
because I remember in 8th grade, I think was when I originally saw the Old Republic trailers and stuff. So it was around the same time. I think that was at least like a year or two after the game like started. So it's possible. I don't know the exact timeline, but I think there is a chance that that's what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually doing the fact checking.
No, I think it was in 2008 that the Old Republic came out, but let me just double check that. Beauty about
I
having
think
a computer.
9 was when season 2 started. So I guess.
Uh, 2011 is when the game came out.
Oh, well then yeah, they totally did it.
Yeah.
Pre Vizsla and the Darksaber was in season 2, so that's it's pretty obvious that's what they were doing then. Okay.
Well, and see, that's the thing. The Old Republic is still the only non-canon item that is still being produced. Like, they still have expansions coming out.
A couple of comics that are in Legends recently, or at least they had Legends characters doing shit or something. I not to swear there accidentally, but I remember hearing
you get one
comic that was connected to Legends. So
you get one a podcast, so that's your one.
I actually listened back through and couldn't find it in the first episode. I think it had something to do with BB-8.
Yeah.
Oh well. All right, that's my one. At least that I noticed.
Yeah.
Very foul-mouthed accidentally, but
but yeah, I think overall, I think we've talked about we've gone for an hour and 45 minutes here.
Yeah.
So we probably should be.
Little thing that I want to throw in, it's disconnected from Clone Wars and Mandalorian and stuff, is the show that I really like called My Hero Academia. If anybody's ever heard of that, I mean, it's pretty popular. There are a lot of locations that are named after Star Wars. And I noticed that when I was originally watching. I've recently noticed a few more. In the second episode, there's a beach where All Might is training the main character, and it's called Dagobah Beach, and it's where, the greatest hero in the world is training, his successor,
Dagobah
and it's called
Beach.
Similar to Luca. There's, the Camino Ward, which is where the bad guys are growing these, genetically altered mutants, basically, and they all live in these, vats. So it being called Camino and then living in vats and stuff, it's pretty close to the clones and everything. There's the Dagobah Mall or something, not Dagobah, Kashi Mall or something like that, and it's jungly in its art and stuff. There's the Takodana Villain Hospital. It's there are a lot of locations like that. Those are just the ones I remember off the top of my head, but there are quite a few, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
I've noticed two of them, and I've never seen anybody mention it before, so I just wanted to mention it here. I'll have to go and look through all of them, but those are just the ones off the top of my head that I can remember. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we basically talked about everything we wanted to for this podcast.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So to the viewers out there that have waited this long, thanks for tuning in and, writing your big essays in the comments and stuff. Like we said in the last episode, as well as this one, these are just our opinions on stuff. So, don't take it the fact that our opinions are fact. They're not. They're just our opinions.
Yeah, I'm not afraid. Junior, I don't know Lucas and Filoni personally, so listen to him. Don't really take what we say as fact.
Yeah.
But if he says it, listen to him.
I think it'd be really cool for the podcast, if we reached out to, because I know that James Arnott Taylor has the podcast. If we reached out to his podcast and tried to see if he could join ours, that would be
insane.
Yeah. So
all right. We need to do that with Oscar Isaac, Christopher Sean, and James Arnold Taylor.
Cool. Yeah, so that's what we want to do as a future plan, is to maybe have some guests join in, and hopefully things will go well on that.
eventually, once I get better at, talking into a microphone.
Yeah, or because yeah, I know if audio seems a little bit cut up, that's because I'm on my computer and Tristan's on his phone, and we're using Discord as our call. So sometimes if audio might have seemed jumbled up, well, that's why.
It's rude, better than nothing. So I don't want to hear any complaints. You're getting this for free.
Exactly. So yeah, it like I said, if you enjoyed this video, give this channel a like and subscribe. I do other things on my YouTube channel, but this one is dedicated towards Star Wars. If we get enough following, we'll make it our we'll try to get this out more. And yeah, with that being said, I'm Chaos, and my buddy co-host there, Tristan. So this is the KT podcast, and we would talk the ins and outs about Star Wars. If you have a topic that you want us to talk about, feel free to leave it down in the comments, and we'll see about talking. And we'll try to keep it more relative to stuff. So maybe we'll do reviews as the Clone Wars are coming out, and get that going, or maybe do one big one at the very end and just talk about what we've done or what the Clone Wars have done and stuff.
Or if you want to chat, ask questions or anything, you could reach out to me on Twitter at CT_irons. That could be an alternate way to get a hold of us.
Or or my Facebook page. I'll leave all the description. I'll leave all the links down in the description. And yeah, and even if maybe further down the line we could do maybe a live chat. If we get enough followers, where we do this podcast live and we can have people come on and ask their questions, and we'll answer them.
Ooh, a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, yes, but I think that would kind of get the community. But yeah, give us stuff to talk about, and I think we'll all have a fantastic time. Like I said, these are just our opinions. This is how we feel about stuff. If you didn't like what was said, you have two options: either exit away or give your opinions and have a lovely debate going.
Just don't be a jerk.
Exactly. So with that being said, I'm Chaos. This is Tristan. This was the KT podcast. So we're signing off. So we'll see you guys in the next episode.
McClunky.